This video is a collaboration where we shared from our wealth of experience of relocating to the UK as newly married wives. So we are going to be sharing how we navigated the system and how we manage all the challenges. Now have been able to raise children who are now adults, and then by the grace of God, we are also now grandmothers. So you're definitely going to learn something from this video, regardless of your age or your gender. Even whether you are planning to Japa or relocate to the UK, or you know someone who is planning to, or you have recently relocated to the UK. So sit back and enjoy this video and let you because you definitely learn something from it. Then it's therefore a given when you finish watching this my video where I interviewed my guest of Ifechi family, you head over to her channel to watch the part where she also interviewed me. Hello everyone, you're welcome to my channel. As you all know, my name is Mabel, and this is why this channel is called Ask Auntie Mabel. So we are doing a very proper asking of questions today. So we've got a special guest that is going to answer some of our very most asked questions currently, and that's a person of our big sister of Ifechi family. So yeah, today we are talking about this trend of people leaving Nigeria in droves at the moment. It's an exodus. And so we are going to be using our own experience of living in the UK, having lived in the UK for so many years, to try and address some of the questions so that at least we hope our experience and our advice will help those who are coming to be better prepared. Okay, so over to you, Big Sis. Please tell us, introduce yourself. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. You all know me as Ifechi family, but actually my full name is Mrs. Ife Ezrim. I'm not. My full name is Ife but I get called Ife. So welcome to Ask Auntie Mabel channel. I'm very happy to be here today. And a little bit of my background. I am mom of 4 grown-up children. And I think I'll leave it here and then wait for the questions that Ask Auntie Mabel will ask me.
Okay, right. So the first question today, it would be okay, just to ease us into so that you are giving from your wealth of experience, not just the age, your experience in the UK as well. So just tell us, please, how long have you've lived in the UK?
Right. I actually came to the UK in my 20s. So I've lived in the UK. We came in 1987. Myself and my first son at the time was just a baby when we came. My husband came ahead of us 6 months before. So I've been in UK for 1987 to now is 36 years. Yes.
Good, good. Yes, that's good. Thank you for that. So we don't, as we because we don't want this video to be too long, it's going to be in 2 parts. So the first 2 questions today, I'm going to ask our big sister, and she's going to talk to us about that. Then at the end of the video, I will tell you the other ones you're going to expect that is going to be very relevant to you as well. So the
Yeah.
first question today, big sis, is yeah, coming to the UK, it has a
Mm.
big impact on husband and wife relationship. So how did you manage the roles and responsibility changes, what impact did your faith have in you, and the emotional and the missing hope, all the other things that come with it that people don't think of when they are thinking of Jack marriage?
Yes. Yeah, in our own case, actually, my husband got a British Council scholarship to come and study. So he actually came as a student, and I joined him as a student with our baby at the time. It was not easy, because they only paid him certain amount. I think it's about £350 that they paid him, and that's it. Because they're not expecting him to bring spouse and a child. But he made up his mind that he has to bring his family, or he will go back and forget about the studies. That's how important family is to him. So he decided to bring us over, and then we started managing, supporting each other. It wasn't easy, but we did it. So I wasn't, I'm a nurse, as some of you know. I'm a nurse and midwife from Nigeria. But when you came over those days, you don't go straight into working as a nurse. You have to do adaptation. So that took me some months to be able to do adaptation and start working. So we relied on just that his student money for quite a number of months before I started doing anything. We just managed. And what else did you ask?
What impact did faith, what else had the impact of
Oh,
faith and
yes.
missing home and all of that?
Yes, yes, yes. And then when we came, we have to look for church to belong to because we are Christians. And the church at the time, some of the churches that we went into, we are like, it looks so cold. When I mean cold, not as in weather, just the way of they are doing things. So we have to shop around, look around to find more lively church to belong to so that our children will also get that benefit. So it took us time, but we eventually got one. And then we started what we called African Fellowship. I can't remember the full name now. African Fellowship
Yeah,
in Edinburgh.
yeah, African Fellowship. Yeah, I remember that very well. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, that was in Edinburgh. Because what I forgot to say that when we left Nigeria, we actually came to Scotland. When you hear about UK is not just England. It's England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern and Ireland. So we came to Scotland, Edinburgh, and we formed African and Caribbean. Yeah, that's what we called it. African and Caribbean Christian Fellowship. That actually was like a family to us. We enjoyed that. So that actually helped us, and we took our children with us. And yes, that helped us to settle in, and we met other Africans there as well. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that question. At the end of this, answering the question, I will ask your advice for those who are coming now, because from our own many years of experience. So that question two was, how did you find raising children? You came with a baby of 6 months, and you had some other children, and then there was
Mm.
no Mugwa. How did you cope with the schools and childcare and things
Yes.
like that? Because, as you said, a few months later, you started working. I know it will put up be part time, but yeah, tell us, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. My our first son at the time, he wasn't just 6 months. He was a year and 6 months actually. It was
Okay.
not easy at all. It was not easy coming up, bringing a child and not working, just relying on your my husband's student stipend at the time. So how we managed was that obviously we just did what we had to do to accommodate, live our life in a way that we're not extravagant. So that helped us a lot. But before we know it, our second son was on the way. And at that time, if I remember vividly, I've already started. I have to work as an auxiliary nurse. Even though I'm a qualified nurse and midwife, I have to start actually doing as an auxiliary nurse until I do my adaptation. So that was how we started. By the time you know it, the second son was there and trying to juggle both of them. But I must say, my husband was even though he was busy in school, he helped a lot. And none of our children actually went to childminder. We walked round them. So that's it wasn't easy bringing them up. But at the time we had our first son, I came with our first son. It was so different in Scotland. I don't think it happened in England, but in Scotland at the time, I remember vividly that every single morning at the door of your house, you get bottle of fresh milk dropped in front of your house. They do that very early in the morning, and everybody with young child got that, regardless of your situation, whether you are working or not working. That was what they did at that time in the 80s. That when we arrived Scotland, that was very good to see. I'm like, oh, fresh milk. We're not even used to fresh milk, but it was so good to see that. So there are so many things that they actually gave children, even in school, at that time. But now going forward, we now had our second son and there was gap between our first and the second because there was about 3 years gap. By the time he came, our first son was 3 years, so that wasn't too bad. But similar situation to you, as Kantimebo, our second and third son, there was only a year and 14 months between them. So before we knew it, another son is on the way. And although I was working, but I wasn't working to full capacity of a nurse. It wasn't enough. And just my story is so similar to yours. When we went to hospital and noticed that another child is coming after a few months, they gave us that option to think about it, whether we want to keep the child. And it wasn't an option for us anyway. We just say, well, God, over to you. So we went home, prayed. That's why his name is something to do with prayer. We named him because we just started praying and say, God, you know everything. And then the rest became history. So bringing them up, because at that time now, we now have 3 children under 5, and with a husband who is still studying. He came to do his master's, my husband. That's how we came in the first place. And our plan was that he would do the master's for 1 year and we'll go back. I told my mother-in-law, Mama, don't touch this one. Keep that one. You can use that one. We're coming back next year. We're coming back next year. Mama said, okay, no problem. She kept those things. And then that 1 year is now 36 years because when my husband finished his master's, he now went on to do his PhD and then went on to work. And by then, I've done my adaptation and started working as a nurse. And after 11 years in Scotland, in Edinburgh, we moved to England. And I started working, and then we started falling into place. And we bought our first house in Scotland. Actually, no, we bought our first house and our second house in Scotland before we left Scotland to come to England. And then, yeah, we've been in England since the late 90s.
Mhm. Yeah.
So there's some difference between Scotland and England. Not a lot, but
Yeah.
our children, they are all Scottish because all 3 of them were born in Scotland. So it wasn't easy, but we worked together. There's none of this looking at anybody, oh, that person is driving car, we are still using train, because we use train and bus for a while before we are able to buy our first car in Scotland. I was not looking at it. So what anyway, I'm going to give the advice at the end of this because there's things I want to tell people who are coming now. They have to actually do their homework well before coming because of the challenges. I would say that at the end, but I don't know whether there's any other thing I've missed.
I think you've covered it so well. But the Omugo, how did you cope when you now had the babies?
Aha, your move on. Nobody came. Actually, thank you for reminding me about that. My mother-in-law, because I lost my mom much earlier, even before I got married, I lost my mom, and my mother-in-law was just a mom to me. So when I had my first son, we were living in Lagos at the time. She came and spent time with me for the omugo, to the extent that she will even cook downstairs and bring it upstairs to me. That was how I was spoiled with omugo with my first son. Now, when I came to England with my second, third, and fourth sons, I'm like, this is it. In fact, just like you, I cried when I had my second son. I'm like, Mama, where are you? And we couldn't bring her because we are just, my mama was just a student. I was just doing, we can't even, look after ourselves properly. Never mind paying for mama to come.
Yeah.
And she kept encouraging me because those days, there's nothing like phone. I have to write a letter. You have to explain things. Mama will write back and say, meaning you people should just do your best. I can't be there. It was so emotional for me to have that second. Oh, thank you for reminding me because this is very important.
Yeah.
So when I see people having this omugo in Nigeria, all these, I'm like, Anyway, so there was nothing like that. So with my second son, it was so emotional because of how I was spoiled when I had my first son. I was looking around, where is mama? I really need this, but yeah. But we ended up, just myself and my husband, we supported each other. My husband was very hands-on. All this omugo soup and everything, he did his best. He said to me, I can do them. I said, yeah, but it's not the same. But he did his best, So we supported each other. And that's how we're able to cope with the second one that we had here, third and the fourth one. It's just us doing them all together. So it's not easy, but it's doable once you have a supportive husband.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think it's similar to my one. My husband is very good at cooking, and I know
Yeah.
Nigerian men don't like people saying that, but he was very helpful in doing
Yeah.
all those things. But it was tough. Emotionally, it was tough. It was
Oh,
really, really tough.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even like me too. And that's why I gave a gap between having my second and the third one. So there are actually 6 years gap between my
Oh,
second
yes.
and third one.
I think
But the
there's so
first
many
two were,
similarities between you and I
yeah,
because between our third son and the last one, there's 5 years.
you see.
Exactly
So
five
yeah,
years gap.
yeah.
So we had
But
we had that first three, the first three under 5. We run around them until the other one was filed before the last one came.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you very much for that. So before I tell you what you'll be expecting in part 2, let us advice from your experience. Please give just a few seconds or as quickly, just round up with an advice to those who are jackmarring right now, what to expect and how to prepare themselves. Yeah.
Yes, my advice to everyone who is thinking of coming, I'm not saying don't come, but those so many years ago when we arrived, things were so, I won't say it was easy, but a lot easier than what is going on now. Please do not think that it's bed of roses here. Things are very expensive, accommodation, everything is so expensive. So my advice will be, do your homework properly. Just make sure that you ask questions. If you know anybody abroad, ask questions. And when they tell you, please don't think that, oh, they don't want me to come, that's why they're saying that. If you're suffering like that, how come you haven't come back yourself? They don't believe you when you tell them,
Yeah.
these things. So my advice would be, please, it's not bed of roses here. Yes, security, all the rest of it, yes, but you pay a lot. You pay for everything here. There's nothing like you went to shop and there's 5p left and they'll say, oh, don't worry about the 5p or 1p. 5p is too much, 1p. You pay everything to the penny here. So I'm not saying not to come, but please just remember that it's not bed of roses here. Things are so difficult and so expensive. And people, when they come, they now work hard, work all over the place. They don't rest because they want to make ends meet. The cost of accommodation, everything, you pay for everything, and they're so expensive. So do your homework, ask questions, decide, make an informed decision before you start coming. Don't just come because, oh, my country is not good, and you come here and you are even suffering more than you are doing in your country. It's not good.
Thank you very much, sis. Thank you very much for that. So in the next video, we don't want this video to be, it's already very long because there's so much to talk about. So yes, in the next video, we're going to talk about your job opportunity, you coming over. Sis has kind of covered it a little bit, but she's going to go into in depth about how career progression, how you have to struggle to just everything about career and progression, and also the difficulty of balancing life here and your relationship with your family back home, and the impact that can have on you, the toll on you and the family back home as well, and even the family relationship. So that's a very key area that you'll be expecting in the part 2 of this video. So on that note, we're going to say, see you next time. See you in part 2.
Yep.
So thank you very much, sis. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
I hope you have definitely learned something from this video. So please leave comments in the comment section for us. If you have any questions or you have your own experience you want to share with us, that would be very much appreciated. And on that same note, please, if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, please subscribe to my channel and give this video a massive like button. And also share it to those who you think would benefit from this video. So on that note, we will see you in part 2 of this video. So thank you very much for watching this video today, and bye.